This message is brought to you by
Brainstorming freedom!
While Talking Garbage.
Hello there, everybody. In today's episode, we will be discussing single and ready to mingle. Was the devastation of losing black leaders that bad? Of losing a movement, the destruction of a movement that bad to where we cannot unify or unite as a people or even as a micro level, as a family? We got to look at this on a micro level as a family. We're going to get into some things typically on the topics of single, family, ready to mingle. What are the effects? What are the consequences? What are the pros? Let's check it out. Hezekiah News.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility. And then you don't want the commitments.
I don't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so you know it really male figures are not substantially important in the family.
So as we see, this is from 1986. We're going to get back to this. This is from 1986. In 1986, on film, it is documented of women saying they don't need a man in the home. Who needs him? Now, how did that start? Did they start doing that? Did we start doing that? Because there are some people who don't want to co-parent, they don't want to get married, or they don't want to be a part of the child's life. There's some women who are in relationships with men, and the man and the woman went through whatever they went through in their relationship. A baby was born. The father wants to be in his child's life, but the mother states she doesn't need a man. No, I don't. All I need is just the money. Just send me the money. Well, I'll put you on child support. If you want to see the child, we can meet here. If you want to see the child, you can come here. And there are some men who are looking to still provide for their children, whether they live near their children or not. Looking to provide a home, food, clothing, shelter, security. A home for their child. And then there are women, unfortunately, who wanted to have the man in the home, but the man just didn't want to be there. Didn't want to be in her life, didn't want to be in the child's life, doesn't want nothing to do with it, doesn't want to be a part of anything. Don't call me. I have nothing to provide for the child. There's no food, clothing, shelter, or security. I have no home for the child. I'm out here doing this. I'm running the streets. You don't know where I'm at. And there are some men who live in different states, who are in the Army, who are away from their children for periods of time, who work during the times when it is significant for bonding. And these are today. But where did it start? How did it start? Let's keep going into this video.
Thinking about holding up far enough sex, my man. You know, if a girl, she having a baby, carry a baby, that's on her. You know, I'm not gonna stop my pleasures because of another woman.
What about birth control? What about condoms?
Girls don't like them things. They don't like them things. You gotta take some things out. Those people that just say they get close to their girl or something.
See, so there are men who are like, well, she want to have a baby, she can have a baby, it ain't mine. I don't care. I'm out. And there's some men who are there all throughout the pregnancy, are still there, checking in on their child, want to see their child. The child wants to see them, but there are some women.
It's a lot of responsibility. And then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so it really male figures are not substantially important.
So some women also grew up in a two-parent household, and they feel the need to import the notion of I'll do it by myself. It's respectively their decision. And who does it affect? It affects the child. Let's get into this. According to IFS Studies, ifsstudies.org, less poverty, less prison, more college. What two parents mean for black and white children. One practical implication of this revenue line of research is that children may not benefit from having their father in the household. Another implication is that the value of the two-parent family may be markedly different across racial lines, with black children less likely to benefit from such a family. Accordingly, in this Institute for Family Studies research brief, we investigate two questions. Are black children more likely to flourish in an intact two-parent home compared to black children raised by single parents or in step families? We focus on these three subgroups because they are the largest family groups for American children today, including African American children. And we answer this question by looking at three important outcomes: child poverty, college graduation, and incarceration. Now, certainly, college graduation doesn't equal success, but that was a stepping stone. Because typically, if they're not in school, they're getting locked up. That was one of the things that they implemented in the community. You know, if they're not in school, lock them up. Or if they're in school, we have it set up as an institution like they're locked up. All right, but we're just going to keep on going. Okay. Today, 37% of black children are living in a home headed by their own two biological parents. 48% are living in a home headed by a single parent. And 4% are living in a step family with one biological parent and one non-biological parent, according to the March 2020 Current Population Survey, CPS. In this research brief, we explore how these three family structures are associated with child poverty, college graduation, and incarceration. We draw on the data from American Community Survey, ACS, 2015 to 2019. And you can go on and check this out on yourself. It's on ifstudies.org. But let's get back into this video. Let's see what else they got to say in this video. Let's get back to it. The gentleman just finished speaking.
It's been a startling change in values. 25 years ago, you would not have heard such things said so freely because they were not embraced so widely. The strong family was still the backbone of Black America. And 3 out of 4 ago, you were not a change in values. 25 years ago, you would not have heard.
25 years ago, you would have not heard of this type of stuff. 25 years ago from 1986. What does that bring us down to? 1961. 1961, they're saying you would have not heard of this type of stuff. Let's keep going.
Such things said so freely because they were
Said
not
so
embraced
freely.
so widely.
They weren't
The
embraced.
strong family was still the backbone of Black America, and 3 out of 4 children had both parents at home. That is true no longer. Most Black children are now growing up without their fathers. The result is a world turned upside down as children copy what they see and repeat what they learn.
Children copy what they see and repeat what they learn. So when did it start? If 25 years ago, all right, 1961, we have 1986. So somewhere.
LaDawn said she didn't have a father in her home and doesn't think her children need one. She's not unusual. Half the Black families today are headed only by a woman. Lorinda said she could make it on her own as a single parent. She has never been married and is raising her daughter without a man's help. She's not unusual. Today, nearly 60% of all Black children are born out of wedlock. Timothy said his children...
60%. 60%. 60%. All right, so now in pewresearch.org, the changing profile of unmarried parents. A growing share are living with a partner. One in 4 parents living with a child in the United States today are unmarried, driven by declines in marriage overall, as well as increases in births outside of marriage. This marks a dramatic change from a half century ago, when fewer than 1 in 10 parents were unmarried, 7%. 7%. Parents living with their children were unmarried. At the same time, the profile of unmarried parents has shifted markedly. According to a new Pew Research Center analysis of Census Bureau data, solo mothers, those who are raising at least one child with no spouse or partner in the home, no longer dominate the ranks of unmarried parents as they once did. In 1968, 88% of unmarried parents fell into this category. By 1997, that share had dropped to 68%. And in 2017, the share of unmarried parents who were solo mothers declined to 53%. These declines in solo mothers have been entirely offset by increases in cohabitating parents. Cohabitating parents. Unmarried, cohabitating. Keeping the structure, causing a decline. Not together. I don't know how to say everything is fair. I can't say how everything is fair in the world that we live in today. All right. Due primarily to the rising number of cohabitating parents, the share of unmarried parents who are fathers has more than doubled over the past 50 years. Now, 29% of all unmarried parents who reside with their children are fathers, compared with just 12% in 1968. While it's well established that married parents are typically better off financially than unmarried parents, there are also differences in financial well-being among unmarried parents. For example, a much larger share of solo parents are living in poverty compared to cohabitating parents, 27% versus 16%. There are differences in the demographic profiles of each group as well. Cohabitating parents are younger, less educated, and less likely to have ever been married than solo parents. At the same time, solo parents have fewer children on average than cohabitating parents and are far more likely to be living with one of their own parents. So this is some of the data. This is some of the data. Let's just get on over to this part right quick. Not only are fewer Americans getting married, but it's also becoming more common for unmarried people to have babies. In 1970, there were 26 births per 1,000 unmarried women ages 15 to 44. With that rate in 2016 stood at 42 births per 1,000 unmarried women. Meanwhile, birth rates for married women have declined from 121 births per 1,000 down to 90. Increases in the number of cohabitating parents raising children have also contributed to the overall growth in unmarried parenthood. In 1997, the 20% of unmarried parents who live with their children are also living with a partner. Since that time, the share has risen to 35%. This trend has boosted the overall share of unmarried parents who were fathers. In 1968, just 12% were fathers. By 1997, the share had risen to 22%. And in 2017, it stood at 29%. At the same time, solo parents remain overwhelmingly female. 81% of solo parents in 2017 were mothers, as were 88% in 1968. 1968. So 1961, 1968. Who started it? Who started it? And who's going to finish it? Let's look at this last one. Single parent families by race, ethnicity. Single parent families by race. Single parent families by race, ethnicity. 2016 to 2020. And Asian single parents. United States, we have 20% single parents in the Black or African American home. 66% in the United States. This is the actrochester.org. This is for the Monroe. So this is just some stats. For Latino and Hispanic, we have 42% in the United States. For white, we have 34%. So here we have 66% for blacks in the United States, 20% for Asians, 42% for Latinos, 34% for whites. So we have less single parent families in Asian with 20%, followed by white families in the United States, 34%, followed by Latino families in the United States with 42%, and then last but not least, you have Black or African American of 66%. So I ask again, was the devastation of losing our black leaders, the movement, constantly repositioning and staying with your foot on the gas to get through slavery, prohibition, segregation, still to this day. But losing the black leadership, is the destruction still implemented? Is the destruction devastating to where today we still find it hard to unify as a family before we can unify as a people? That is something that we must ask ourselves. Of course, I don't have all the answers. Just bringing this information to you. I hope you received it well. And may you have a wonderful, wonderful day.